everybody, and welcome back to some more Create to Mechanism. Today, we are going to be getting ourselves the final, well, not really the final, but the next mechanism. However, for us to do this, we're going to need to do a few things. Now, I already have everything I need for this line of things. I really just need to set up that system. That's fine. But for me to get the molten ender, I'm going to need to start smelting down ender pearls. However, my ender pearl system is all going into my singularities. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to try to take it directly from my EMC list. The only way for me to do that is with an EMC link. But this thing is really freaking expensive. So the EMC link itself is going to take an energy condenser, which just takes a huge line of different chests and such. You know, the chests are mostly fine. The real trouble, though, is the dark matter, and I guess the 4 blocks of diamond. You know, that's no picnic either. But the dark matter takes 4 dark matters, which are each 139,000 EMC, to make 1 block, and I need 4 of those for that. But also the transmutation tablets, which take another 4 each. So yeah, if I go ahead and pull out how much dark matter I can actually get, we only have enough for 1 of those. So that's obviously a problem. But I have actually since found a few solutions for that, which is I'm making some EMC generations to start off with. So my first mission is to make the energy condenser, so obviously I can already get that. But for me to get the rest of those things, I need more EMC, which is what I've done over here. So I've added a drawer here to push out redstone, which is getting haunted to make glowstone. Now, for some reason, redstone costs 64 EMC, but glowstone costs 384 EMC. So all of these have just infinitely created so much more EMC than I initially had. So now where I have 2.23 billion, or not billion, million, I now have 2.52. That's one thing I could do. But I've got an even better option, which is to take a diamond here worth 8,000 EMC, and then to have this thing have a nether star pressed onto it, which does not get consumed, and turns that into an emerald, which now has 16,000 EMC. Obviously, bit of a bigger number. So if I were to just grab it out entire stack, which now has a total of 524,000, and just send these things into here, we then end up with 1.04 million EMC in this. And bear in mind, this is way quicker than the haunting of the redstone for infinitely more EMC. That is just a little bit insane. So now from where we had left off before, we're now at 3.6 million. So let's see, how much can I get now? 21 dark matter. Does that get me more blocks? That's about 1 more block. Now I just need to do this a few more times.
Later.
Alrighty, it took me a bit, but I finally have enough of the dark matter blocks. Oh my gosh, that took so much, but it's finally ready. So now that we have that, we can actually finally make everything else that we're going to need. But before we can actually make the transmutation tablets, we're first going to need transmutation tables, which is actually not going to be too difficult. We're just going to need to get ourselves 8 stone and 8 obsidian, which are all incredibly cheap, relatively speaking now. It's very easy, actually. And fortunately, the Philosopher's Stone is not eaten up with it. So, there we go. Now we got these guys, which we can now go ahead and combine with some of our dark matter. And that was not the recipe for these guys. So now we got ourselves our transmutation tablets. There we go. Now, actually, these things would actually be very useful because I wouldn't actually need to come over here. I could just access my EMC table manually. But this is not what we need these for. We need these things for everything else. So now that we've gotten those, the next things that we're going to need is the energy condenser itself. Now, before we can do that, we got to go along the chest line. So for the chest line, we just start with a normal chest. Then, we just need to wrap this thing around and get ourselves an iron chest. And then, wrap it in gold. Very easy. But then you do not wrap it in diamond. No, you just put 2 diamonds there, and then wrap that in glass. And for some reason it works. But then we go back to the wrapping in to get ourselves obsidian. I don't know why it works like that, but it does. This is then where this is going to get interesting. Because for the next part, the alchemical chest, it takes a diamond, 2 iron, and 2 stone. That much we already have. But then some new things called covalence dust. We need a low, a medium, and a high. For the high, we need a diamond and a coal. For the medium, we need redstone and iron, and for this one, we just need charred coal and a bunch of cobblestone. Then, lastly, we can go ahead and then make ourselves our alchemical chest, and then we should be able to... There it is. Okay, I had the wrong thing. But then we get ourselves our energy condenser, which is the first mission done. Now, what the energy condenser does is actually very interesting. If we were to put this thing down, we now have ourselves a big chest. But you can't see it because there's this achievement thing in the way, but it's actually very important. So if the achievement thing can go away, there we go. We have everything clear. This thing up here is for an EMC-able item. So I can put redstone in this one. And then what's going to happen is EMC-able items will be pumped into this thing. And the amount of EMC those things are worth will work towards generating this thing. So it turns out 6 redstone dust is worth 1 glowstone. That's actually rather amazing. Now, this is actually where my initial idea was going for in case I didn't have enough EMC, which was to use the energy condenser for EMC generation optional, which was I was going to pump the glowstone and then make it turn into redstone and just have this infinitely cycle. Realistically, I could probably do that with a diamond. It's also an option we cannot afford, as next up, we got to go ahead and make ourselves the EMC link. Yay. Now we have everything for this. So here's the question. Is this the good EMC links or the bad EMC links? If I go ahead and put this down, an export item has not been set. It's the bad one. The next thing that we would have was to use the EMC link to automate emeralds for EMC, because I do want to do that as well, which means I'm probably going to need 2 of these, or alternatively, to use the EMC link to automate the molten ender, which is how we're going to get the ender automation going. I'm going to use this one to automate the emerald one. That way I can go ahead and start getting a bunch more EMC to then go ahead and make another one of these. And then I will be right back with everything we need to go ahead and get started with our molten ender.
1 hour later.
Alrighty, so I got the automation set up. It's just a little rudimentary thing. I have my EMC link right here, with 2 pretty pipes here, with a retrieval model retrieving diamonds and an extraction model extracting the emeralds, and it's just a small infinite loop. It's been working pretty well, and I've managed to accumulate several million in my time away as I've been assembling the rest of this. So after that, managed to get another EMC link right here, and I have this one connected to ender pearls. So now what I need to do is use my polar upgrade to pull from the west, it looks like. And then I can have a pusher upgrade to push this down, which is on another seared fuel tank being pulled and stuff here, which is then getting us our molten ender. So now we just need to go ahead, link our molten ender, and here we go. Our process is now almost ready. There's just one more thing that we now need to do. For us to be able to make the next thing after our molten ender, well, A, we're going to need to grab a bucket for this thing anyways, so that's actually really convenient. But now we need to mix this molten ender with iron to get a molten ender alloy. But how are we actually going to get these things mixed together when they're both all the way across from each other, and my iron is going into something else? Well, here's the plan. I've set up something else over here. We've got a little mixer right up here with a blaze burner down there, and I've got a whole pipe setup going. Now, at these ends right here, I have smart fluid pipes, and what these are supposed to do is they're supposed to act as filters. So, if I put molten ender on this one, molten iron on this one, and on that bottom one there, I have lava, and then just connect this to my controller access point with all of my fluid drawers all connected, this should work. So all that is left for me to do is to just put this in case chain drive right here. I have a chain cogwheel right down there, so that should hopefully start spinning it. And we should now hopefully start getting... Oh, I heard this thing go off. Does not look like this worked. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. This is facing the wrong way. So if I flip this around, it still does not work.
20 minutes later.
Alrighty, so I fixed it. So what I did was I just grabbed the fluid drawers from over there and then put some of the storage controllers over to here. And there we go. That's the molten ender alloy being automated. That's mostly good, I'm thinking, because I'm honestly not sure at this point, because will this be able to actually go into the controller access points, or is it only for the fluid drawers? Okay, I figured it out. I just needed to reflick the lever so that way these things would reset. So there we go. It is working, and it looks like it should actually be good. So once this thing reaches a full bucket, which it now has, we should then be able to... Actually, I want to go ahead and... Okay, apparently I can't throw these back in, so I'm going to need to go ahead and grab another bucket. Well, let's go ahead and pull this thing out. Put it back in, so that way we now have ourselves our molten ender. Alrighty. So then after that, what I can now go ahead and do is just plop this baby right here. And then I'm going to need a pusher upgrade to be able to push this into here, which should then solidify it into some ender nuggets. After that, I can use a puller upgrade and a compacting drawer to be able to take this thing out to give us the ender nuggets. That's the easy part. After that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the radiance automation, and then I'm also going to need to go ahead and make myself this chromatic resonator, which is going to be really fun, as that means I'm going to need 28 of these mechanical crafters to be able to make one ingredient in it. Other than that, I'm going to need a red alloy ingot, which is going to be liquid redstone infusion and copper. I have the redstone infusion over there, so that's no problem. And then cobalt, which I just need to mine in the nether. I'm going to get all of that done, go over the things in the most mild of senses, and we're going to get this next mechanism all ready and raring to go.
Much later.
Alrighty, it is finally all finished. So like I said, just put a polar upgrade right over here to get all of this out here. That was no problem. But then back here, what I have is I have a pusher upgrade on this depot, which is then crushing our refined radiance, which is then getting brass funneled out onto here, which is then making ourselves our radiant induction coils. Now, what I get to do is I get to go ahead and take all 8 of these things together over here to the final row. At least for now, because I am going to need to expand this once again. So, all that's left to do is make sure that I get this in the right order, and then we can just go ahead and throw this here and turn it on. And then those are going to go through, and it's gonna stop because I didn't equip that into there. There we go. With this, our induction the inductive mechanism is finally ready. Oh my gosh, it is beautiful. So then after that, we just need to go ahead and make ourselves this inductive casing, which, like everything else, is just the ingot with a log. This is precisely why I used a compacting drawer for this one, was so that way this would end up having both of these. So now we can go ahead and combine this all together, and we're about to hear a big dun-wall. We'll hear it. We didn't hear it. Oh, it's because I never... Oh, you know what? It's because I never actually picked up the waste in here. But once I pick this up, there it is. Ah, it's beautiful. So now this chapter is fully done. And now what's gonna happen is, this is gonna start leading us into a lot of different things, because with this, we're gonna be able to start a bit of technologies here. We're gonna get started with extreme crafting. It's gonna be a lot of cool stuff. And the best part is we got a whole list of checks that we can just go ahead and check off right now. So did you like this video? Good. Then be sure to check out our last Create to Mechanism video where we case a wither for our radiance automation. Bye-bye!